Core Collaborators, the artist formerly known as the PR team. But we do so much more. We have been talking about the rest of the year and initiatives we want to take. And these are there's a lot of stuff on my slides right now, though, so let's hope that we get at least 50% of it done. We'll see about that. So we first had a talk about issue tracker and me wanting some help with doing triage. I'm not sure how that's going to go yet, but there's a lot of things that can be easily picked up by people who are enjoying following along with the issue tracker. From simple things like just reproducing an issue and saying, oh well, I can't see it on the latest version, or it's already fixed on the next upcoming version, to maybe more complex things. There's a load balancing problem, and I personally have no idea what to do with load balancing problems. So if anybody else goes in and says, hey, well, you're doing it wrong, you need to do this, and this, and fix it, that would be fantastic. We talked a little bit about how to make it easier for people to get help without us even having to do anything. So maybe we could build a bot that goes and looks at the issue submitted and figures out some keywords and sees maybe there's a forum topic, or maybe there's something to be found on Google about this already. We don't want to spam people with automatic links because that would probably be a bit too much. But we talked about maybe we can ask a bot to give us some links, and if those are of high quality, we can tell the bot, hey, post that on the issue, or maybe we can just post it ourselves. Things like that. If anybody's crazy about looking at issues and helping out there, let me know. The next slide. The other thing we talked about was doing some more automation. We currently have one automated reply that you've probably, if you've ever created an issue, you might have seen this one saying, hey, that's a great idea. We think you should make this into a pull request. Here's some links, things like that. So the up for grabs bot is doing its work quite well right now. There are some other bots that you don't see as often. So when we close an issue, for example, and there's still a state in sprint on it, for example, the in sprint thing gets removed automatically because it's closed, so it's no longer in a sprint, or it's no longer doesn't need more info any longer. Things like that. There's more labels that we can do this for. So whenever I encounter an issue that I don't have an immediate reply to, I want to talk to someone. So I put on a needs investigation label, and I go find someone who can help me with that. While that label is on there, we might as well post an explanation saying this label is on here because we don't have an immediate reply for you, but we'll get back to you as soon as we do. Things like that. The other thing we talked about was unmergeable pull requests, so open pull requests that suddenly become not easily mergeable because they have merge conflicts. We have committed something that conflicts with the files that are in there. We could post a nice request saying, oh, hey, we noticed that this pull request can no longer be merged. Maybe you want to do a merge and push the latest changes so that we can easily merge it when we get to reviewing it. And we could even try and see if we could do an automatic merge for them, but that would be more advanced. We also talked a little bit about our release notes for each release, which appear on our Umbraco. For HQ, they are sadly a little bit unreadable at the moment because there's so many, and that it's because of a good thing. There's so many pull requests coming in, and they're all quite small. So that list of issues that has been fixed gets longer and longer, which means every time Yen changes an href to a button, which is an amazing accessibility change, it will end up in a list of features. It ends up in the list of features just in between the block editor and the new segments feature. So it's the importance of each line is a bit hard to understand. So we talked about our team, the Core Collaborators team, can highlight notable contributions, bigger things, and we could also add some more labels, categorizing things. So anything that falls under the accessibility category, we can put in its own section on the release notes on our Umbraco. That also makes it more readable for anybody who's not at HQ. So people can actually focus on, oh, okay, is my bug fixed or not? Instead of, oh, okay, yes, another button has changed. That's great, but not relevant for what I'm trying to figure out when reading the release notes. Yes, then I think we talked about testing earlier already. The acceptance test project is a new thing in the Umbraco code base, and we want to promote testing more. The first thing we talked about was regression bugs. Every time we do a minor release, we often have a few bugs, things that we broke accidentally, which should not have broken, so we need to go and fix them quickly. And we thought about maybe we can figure out which files we break very often and see if we can build some testing around that, so that we don't break everybody's workflows as much. Not sure if that's gonna work, but it's a thing to figure out. So what I've been doing for the past year or so is every time we have a regression bug, I put a label on it saying regression, so that I can actually figure out where all the regressions came from, and maybe we can even automate looking at, okay, what files were involved in those regressions. Yep, the acceptance test project is there now. We want to encourage people to contribute to that and make that a real cool thing, helping us not making regressions. And I've recently made probably my first ever unit test, not really, but my first unit test for Umbraco in a pull request, specifically asked for by Shannon. It's like, oh, I'm not entirely sure if this is going to break anything, but if we have at least a unit test for it, then we know that for the future it won't break. Which was cool, and we would like to encourage people to do that more often. It's we know it's a barrier to entry, so we don't want to require it. It's hard for people to always write unit tests for their things, also because we don't have that much documentation on our current tests. So one of the things to encourage this is to make sure that we have better documentation of how and when do I add a unit test. We are looking for help to make our test suite run a little bit faster. So currently, if you want to run the whole suite, well, when it runs on the build server on Azure DevOps, it takes about between 30 and 40 minutes to run all the tests that we currently have. One of the big reasons for that is for why it takes so long is because we use SQL CE, and we need to set up and tear down a SQL CE database for each of the tests that are available, because we don't want side effects. We don't want to set up a database, do all the tests, and after test number 15 runs, it only ran correctly because test number 14 did something. We want to make them independent of each other. So that's why we need to set up and tear down a database every time, which takes a long time, and then SQL CE is very slow. So the idea is maybe we can try and run the same tests on a local DB instance, if that could work on our DevOps environment, Azure DevOps, then hopefully that would be a lot quicker. And then people who send us a pull request also get a much quicker result saying, hey, you did something that broke something. That would be nice. And we talked about how can we, and I have no answer for this, but if someone does, how can we get people who are trying to contribute to run maybe only the unit tests that are related to the stuff that you've changed during your coding work. So if anybody has ideas for that, I know about ndepend, but that's installing something in Visual Studio, and that might not be very friendly. Then the last thing we talked about is fostering contributions, encouraging people who are doing the contributions to do more of them, figuring out what makes them tick, why are they doing, why are they helping out, and if they are enjoying it, would they like to do some more of them, and what barriers do they have for that? Maybe we can take some of those barriers away for them. And in general, we want to talk to more contributors and publish their stories, maybe on the blog, maybe in other forums, just so we can get the word out there, saying, look, I am this person, I can do this, you can also do this. Just some feel-good stories, right? And the last thing we talked about in order to get more people to contribute is to do some webinars and video tutorials, just showing what it's like to do a contribution. Many people are very comfortable doing their own code, but they might not have any idea on how to work with Umbraco's code and what to do next after they've done it. I just talked to someone, I can't remember. Just talked to someone, it's one of our new colleagues who's never really interacted with GitHub before. He doesn't really know, I mean, he heard of pull requests, but he's never really made one. And now we only work with pull requests at Umbraco. So he was like, oh, I'm really getting used to this now, but it's taking me a while to figure out all of this stuff that the hipsters do at GitHub. So that was fun to learn that someone who's actually never done this before looked at it very differently. So I understand now that people who work in normal companies, non-open source companies, might have some problems understanding what it is to make a pull request. So let's make some tutorials for that. Let's show people how it works. That'd be nice. Yep, I think that was it for our update. Do we have anything to add, Emma?
No, not really. I think you said everything that I would have liked. I think the key is to make sure we're empowering people to be as involved as they'd like to be. We started off being the core collaborators, or the PR team, and you were very keen to point out that we're not special. And, you know, we have to really stick with that. Just like the accessibility team said, you don't need to know an awful lot to get started, and you've always got people here to help out.